Hi everyone, I'm Carla Sosenko. I am Features Director of Us Weekly, and I cannot tell you how absolutely ecstatic I am to be talking to today's guest. Let's just get right to it. Please welcome DJ Shangela Pierce.
Hallelujah. Hi.
Hi. Okay, so when I was prepping for this interview, I was like, I don't even know where to start because I feel like over the past couple of years, you just had good news after good news. I mean, I'm a superstitious New York Jew. I want to knock on something, but it's been really wonderful.
Yeah, I've had a great run, but you know what? For all of the great successes that people see, because I work in television and filming in front of a camera, there are so many other disappointments or challenges or no's that I get that I have to continue to push through. But that just makes the yeses so much better, you know?
Yeah, and I want to talk in a few minutes about some of the no's, the roller coaster that everybody trying to make it in this business goes through. But the very first thing I want to do is talk about your new HBO show, We're Here. Now, the one kind of, as amazing as technology is and lets us talk during this super weird time we're going through, the one thing that kind of is a bummer is that the people watching haven't sat in a room together and watched a screening of We're Here. So what I would love is for you to first just tell our viewers about We're Here.
Okay, so We're Here is a new project that I'm working on with HBO in which our creators, Johnny Ingram and Steve Warren, both came to me and Bob the Drag Queen and Eureka, who were sisters from RuPaul's Drag Race, and said, look, we have this idea, and this is what the show is about. 3 drag entertainers with great heart traveling across America, specifically to small towns, and connecting with local residents in order to help them reach their best versions of themselves, right? Through this transformative power of drag, but really build a strong connection with them to showcase what the LGBTQ experience is in small towns, and then to help see if we can unearth a community of support in places that are, they don't seem to be very likely with a one-night only drag show.
I watched 3 episodes. I think the 4th episode went up last night. I'm behind. I watched 3 episodes in a row, and I had to pause because I was overwhelmed by emotion. It was like every emotion in the book. I was joyful. I was crying. I was enraged because the 3 of you are in these small towns, and the show does not shy away from some of the darker, antiquated kind of parts of these towns that still exist. In the very first episode, you're in a town where there are Confederate flags everywhere. And I'm wondering, what was the experience like for you and Bob and Eureka, just personally and emotionally going into these towns and having these experiences?
Well, the show is a real life series, and I like to say that because that's actually exactly what it is. It's a real life series that is highlighting and giving, the spotlight to what real life is like for members of the LGBTQ community and people who are our allies in places that are a lot more conservative, in places that, it's just not incredibly accepted to live out your queer experience, to the full potential that you have it. So in going to these places, it was a very sobering reality, definitely to me. And I'm sure to Bob and Eureka as well, because, even though we all grew up in small towns, so we felt familiar with what that experience is, we haven't been there in a while. So not to live, and as RuPaul's Drag Race girls and drag divas who travel the world, we're accustomed to being celebrated and experiencing prides and big moments that uplift the LGBTQ community. So going to a lot of these more conservative places, we found, guess what? We have not, as a community, as a full, LGBTQ people, progressed as much as we thought maybe we had in all areas of America. And if there are many areas that are left back, then we are all moving forward. And until we can all move forward, there is work to be done. And that's why we were very proud to be in this moment, to be in this position, to be able to connect with also our childhoods, our upbringing. In a lot of these places, we kind of felt we knew what to expect, but there were surprises around every corner.
Yeah, and I mean, for viewers who are watching right now, I encourage you to sit down and watch the show because it is it is so happy, but you use the word sobering, and that's exactly right. I mean, you're kind of like, what did that just happen? And it sometimes it's one person who there's one episode Eureka's having a conversation with somebody who seems very open to the queer community, and then uses the term colored people. And I remember I was like, this is someone who it's so not black and white. This is someone whose mind seems open in some ways, and in other ways, it's like, did he just say that? It's just unreal.
And that's a shocking thing to us because we're in a space where we're not accustomed to that. But in some places in America, unfortunately, that's the reality of what, how people speak or what, how far they haven't come along on the spectrum of evolution, right? And how that we communicate with each other and how we respect each other and the information that we have about different communities outside of our own. And I think that's the brilliance of us being able to travel specifically to these small towns across America. A lot of them, they ain't never seen drag queens before. And you know what was interesting? Some that we would assume have not have. Right. And that's the beauty of this show. You don't know always what to expect. A lot of people have stereotypes about what small towns are going to be like. And we do showcase the good as well as the difference of opinion or the bad, right? We showcase it all because that's what a real life series does. But people have these stereotypes about, okay, they're poor girl, these poor drag queens are going to the small town. Everyone's going to hate them and throw things, what's going to happen? But honestly, we've been able to figure out there are pockets of communities of support in the most unlikely places. And it's just our job to get there and be visible, to provide visibility and authentic representation of who we are. And also, as much as we want to speak, we have to be open to listening as well. We're not, I say this in one of the episodes, we're not out here trying to demonize people who have a difference of opinion of us, even though we know that it's wrong to not, think for everyone's equality. But we're not trying to come in and put them down and lift ourselves up. We're trying to show them this is who we are. These are the people who are around you in your community, okay? This is the visibility that you need to see that you think may be so removed from your own experience, but possibly is not. So let's have a conversation.
Yeah, I love that. I can't speak highly enough of the show, especially during such like a time when emotions are bubbling up at the surface for all of us right now.
Well, you know it. And that, what you said in the beginning about people not being able to necessarily be together. We wanted to have a huge, premiere. We wanted to celebrate this in bars and nightclubs and community centers and LGBT resource centers across America with this show. But, life is not scripted, just like our show. Life is not scripted. So when life throws you, these curveballs, you got to learn how to pivot. That's my old dance term, honey, pivot. You got to learn how to pivot and keep moving. And I think that's what a lot of people are experiencing and watching the show. We're finding that just because people are in their homes, this is a rough time right now. But that doesn't mean it has to be a dark time. There are things out there that remind us about compassion and humanity. And I'm so proud to be a part of a show like this that does.
Yeah, it's amazing. So you said when we first started that for every yes, there's a no. And I wanted to, so first of all, you have a lot of superlatives on your resume at this point. You are the only contestant to star on 3 seasons of RuPaul's Drag Race. You are the first person ever to walk the Oscars red carpet in drag for Star is Born. And you were also the first drag performer to ever be featured on the Time 100 Next list.
Well, thank you. I'm just very thankful to look back over my career, especially my 10-year career in drag and being in front of the camera to say none of those moments were handed to me. I feel like I worked really hard to achieve those things. And I'm so thankful. I've been really blessed with great people in my life, great mentors, but also I hope that people are inspired by my journey to know that, Shangela didn't have the easiest road always, but she never gave up. And she came from the bottom and now she's rolling. No, we don't even say the top. She's just rolling forward, okay?
Toward the top. Toward the top. Yeah, there you go. So the majority of the people who will be watching this video are fellow SAG members, they're actors, they're working in the industry. And so I want to talk about how you kept a positive spirit and stayed inspired, right? So I just mentioned all those accolades. The very first time that you were on RuPaul's Drag Race, you were the first person voted off, I believe.
Yes.
How do you take that? So it's one thing when you're an actor that goes in for an audition and you don't get the role, and that sucks. This is televised. You're on RuPaul's Drag Race. You're voted off, and as you said, it's 10 years later, and look where you are now. How did you stay focused and just keep your eyes on the prize and your passion and just keep at it after that?
Well, I had a dream, really, and that was always to work in television and film. I've wanted to be an entertainer more than anything else. And I think that's in my blood. That's what my passion is. So I wanted that to happen for me. I wanted to be able to do that. That's how I live. You know, when people say, girl, I live. That's how I live, you know. I was working in corporate communications and PR in Dallas right out of college. And I remember the CEO, I was working at the time for TGI Fridays, and the CEO told me after seeing me perform in a Halloween costume contest there at the office, he said, you know, we love you here, but if ever you wanted to be an entertainer, if that was ever a dream of yours, I would suggest you go to Hollywood and you go now. You'll always have a job here, but honestly, if that's your dream. And so I packed up my Explorer and I moved out west, holding on to that dream. Now, when I got there, I was, you know, doing all the background work, you know, begging for vouchers in the back of music videos. Honey, I was in a Snoop Dogg music video once. I was in a Fall Out Boy music video. You won't recognize me, but I was the green person in the green t-shirt in the back, you know. And even, you know, when getting voted off of RuPaul's Drag Race, that hurt. It did. But I realized that if I wanted to succeed, that nothing was going to be handed to me. And I think that I'm thankful that that's how I've always kind of lived my life. We grew up, we didn't have a lot of money. I watched my mom as a single Black mother, a veteran, work lots of jobs at once, sometimes to, you know, to make it, to put food on the table. I watched my grandparents work. And so I've always had that worker spirit about me. And I think in Hollywood especially, you got to have that because, honey, you'll get these amazing ups and the next day it'll be, it's gone or that project is done and the phone's not ringing. You got to go out there and create. And that's really what I did. After season 2 of Drag Race, I started competing in pageants. I won Miss California Entertainer of the Year. I went on to the National, got first runner-up Miss National Entertainer of the Year. I started booking every job that I could, being on stages. I was auditioning in and out of drag, you know, and sometimes walking across a studio lot, 10 years ago, dressed as a, you know, a hooker, going for the hooker roles, because that's mostly what the drag roles were, mostly at the time. You know, it could be very, it could just be difficult. You would feel like everyone's staring at me. But also as a drag entertainer, I learned to build up that confidence in myself. And with my mentor, who's been in the industry for like 40 years, Jennifer Lewis, who I worked as her assistant when I first moved to LA. Actually, her second assistant moved up to her first assistant within a year. And then when I got on Drag Race, she goes, all right, you don't got too famous to be my assistant, but you can move into the house. So, you know, we built a great relationship, and she's been a strong place for me to learn, you know, how to deal with the yeses and the many no's of Hollywood, but to navigate that and to take care of yourself emotionally. I think I took care of myself, Carla, emotionally over time. I journaled, you know, if I'd have a bad day or a bad experience, I try to write my way through it. I would focus on the positive things in life. Because let me tell you something, you dwell on the negative, that's where you're going to live. So you have to say, all right, that sucked. Breath, what's next? And keep it moving.
Yeah. Oh my God. And that's, everything you're saying kind of goes back to what it feels like the ethos of We're Here is. Like, if that sounds like something that I could imagine you telling one of your drag daughters on We're Here, you know, because you hear so many stories.
You're right. That is something definitely I tell them because we connect in a real space. The only thing I can bring to that show is who I am as DJ Pierce Shangela. Okay? Yeah. That's what I can bring. That's how we have to be open, honest, authentic, and vulnerable, which I didn't expect, you know, coming to this project. I didn't know I was going to be boo-hooing all the time, but it's a real connection.
And it's good. Boo-hooing is healthy. That's what I'm learning.
I'm writing on a t-shirt. Boo-hoo is healthy. Yeah.
There you go. Amazing. So simultaneous with all of this other stuff, you have been in Katie Keene, the new wonderful, colorful, happy series starring Lucy Hale. You have performed a Beyonce medley for Beyonce, which I can't even imagine what that experience is like. What at this point in your career have you not done yet that's on your dream list of gigs?
Oh my gosh. Well, there are tons. Like I said, I wrote a song called Working Girl Professional. That's because I am a working girl professional and she got big dreams. And when one gets achieved, I think I just start to create others because I want to continue that passion. You mentioned briefly, I got to say this, Katie Keene recently being on 2 episodes of those, the same character coming back for this character, Devereaux. I was so thankful for that. I loved it. I've loved working in television and film. I've done a lot of guest stars, but I've never truly starred in a scripted series. And that's really what I hope my next place is. I'm loving We're Here. I hope we go for 96 seasons, child, 96, 112, you know. I love that space, but I also want to continue working as an actor, both in and out of drag. And I'm looking for a great project. And in addition to looking for great projects and fielding scripts, I'm also writing. And I just actually writing a full-length feature with my friend Deborah Dean Davis, who wrote the film It Takes Two, you know, with the ones with the Ashley Olsen twins, the Mary-Kate and Ashley. So she's fabulous. And we've been working on a project. We just finished it. We're kind of going back through the tweak session right now. And that's what I want to continue to do. Tell fun, authentic stories, make sure that LGBTQ characters are visible on screen, whether they're fictional or they're real, and just be a part of that. So that's my ideal thing that's next. Shanji wants to be starring in a movie, you know, right. Reality, Whoopi Goldberg, Jumpin' Jack Flash, you know, stuff.
All right, you heard anybody listening out there, casting directors, you heard it. Scripted series.
Hallelujah. I like that.
All right. So in addition to all of this, with all your spare time, because you clearly have loads of it, I'm not sure when you sleep, you also run Say What Entertainment. So you actually help manage other drag performers. Tell us a little bit about that, where you got the idea to start your own agency and what kind of work you do.
Well, you know, the agency was born for 2 reasons. Back in 2013, I started Say What Entertainment. And that's because reason 1, I had broken my leg on stage. Okay, I was performing in New York City. Honey, I went up for one of those death drops, you know, the ones I taught on Dance Moms, you know. And I came down, I did a leaping helicopter one, right? And when I came down, I broke both the tibia and the fibula bones in my right leg. Snapped right out the side, right? Yes, girl. And I remember being in the hospital for about like 2.5, almost 3 weeks, because they had to put a titanium rod in the leg, 2 screws in the knee, 2 in the ankle, that whole gig, right? And I remember during the recovery process, which was about 3 months, it was supposed to be 6, but I was like, look, baby, I got to get back on the road. I was down. I kept thinking I should be doing something with my time. Like I said, I'm a working girl. So I couldn't do what I love, which was being on stage and dancing and performing and entertaining. So from my mom's living room, I decided to create a company. Now, why? Why Say What Entertainment? Well, after RuPaul's Drag Race, the 2nd season and even the 3rd, you know, that was still in the early stages of the show. And there is no magic wand once you go on a reality show that goes, and now we're going to make you a star. People think that is not it. We have to go to work for ourselves. So I started calling and booking myself around, building a relationship with a lot of different club managers and promoters around the country. Then it filtered out international as the show became more popular. So we worked with different managers at the time because, no, we didn't have a manager. I know what that was. So they would call me and say, hey, I can get you booked. I'm like, all right. Well, I ran into some really rough ones, right? Sometimes people would, you know, people speaking on my behalf would book me and then not tell me, take the money and disappear. Oh, yeah, girl. It's all kinds of things. So I learned through those experiences, through failing a lot of times or going through things I was like, I never want to do that again. I learned, you know what, Shanji, you have the ability to do this and to work with people that you respect. Instead of going and trying to find someone you can trust, why don't you just build it yourself? So I started working with my good friend Ron Davis. We built this agency. And then I also knew I'm a trustworthy person, and I wanted queens coming in the episodes and the seasons after us to feel that they had a resource that had been through some of the stuff we knew. And nobody can program for a queen like a queen. Okay. And so I'm thankful that even to this day, we still manage great careers of very talented people like Alyssa Edwards, my drag mother, Monique Hart. And also it's a great place that we just share information and advice between each other in how to build this organization on up and support our girls.
Oh my God. I mean, you sound like the busiest person on the face of the planet, but also someone who's happiest working. Because I will say, I've been rewatching Community, and I was like, that's Shangela. I was watching an episode.
Got my lips, got a pocket full of hot dogs. Pocket full of hot dogs.
So you've been out there. So obviously, things have come a long way in terms of intersectionality and representation. And I imagine things have changed a lot for the better since you first started working in Hollywood. But I'm just curious, because sometimes I'm a little bit hesitant when we as a society kind of over-congratulate ourselves about how far we've come and how much progress we've made. And I'm wondering, for someone that's been in it and working from the inside, in terms of the changes that you've seen, what do you think? Like, are we on the road to a better place? Do we still have a lot of work to do? Have you seen positive changes in the industry since you started working?
Well, you know what? The short answer is yes. There have definitely been great moments of progress made. We can see that with the increased visibility of LGBTQ characters, and not only the increased visibility, but the accurate portrayal of our stories, the accurate and authentic representation of LGBTQ characters, because we're not just, one particular stroke on this broad spectrum. There are lots of different walks of life. So I think the more that storytelling can be done, and the more people who are in the room planning and creating from a very authentic space, the better it makes it for our entire community, right? So yes, in that respect, I think that we've definitely made great moments of progress. Now, do we have more to go? Yes. And how do I know that? Because I'm out there in the field, okay? I am, with the show We're Here, we're going to these small towns, and not just in small towns, but there are conversations and things happening with regard to government and politics, even still in Hollywood, that have kept us from going as far as we could go. So it's important that we have difficult conversations about representation, about fairness, about equal access and rights. Those are all very important conversations to continue to have. And it's really nice when you see, I'll use my personal example right now, working with HBO, right? In doing this show, it's not just, Johnny and Steve, who are amazing creators of the show, built this thing and connected with HBO. HBO, we already know, is phenomenal and known for creating amazing programming, right? But on this particular show, they didn't just go, okay, and we're going to hire you three, and you're going to, get on stage and you're going to do what you do in front of the camera. They also honored me, Bob, and Eureka, all of us, as consulting producers titled in the show. And so that our voice could be heard not only in front of the camera, but would matter also with what's going behind the scenes, what's happening behind the scenes in production. And when we're producing those drag shows, we were able to bring in, each of us, our complete teams that I've worked with for years. The guy who made my dress for the Oscars and the Stars Born premiere, Diego Montoya, I was like, baby, you want a job over at HBO? Come on. We all got to bring our best hair, makeup, my, assistants, people that have worked in production. My music producer, Joella Puss, who's done my drag music mixes, is now making music mixes for HBO. And we were able to bring that in because they wanted this show to be authentic to the drag experience and have a real connection. And that, to me, is progress. If we can get more shows, if we can get more studios, if we can get more executives to go, we're going to listen to you because your perspective from this area or from this walk of life is something that needs to be heard here. It'll make it all better.
That's amazing. That is such a good point, because I was actually curious when I was watching it. I was thinking, I wonder, what was, how did this idea come to fruition? Because you feel that organic, you can feel that the three of you are behind the cameras too, and that it is an authentic, organic experience. So that's amazing, and that's, as you said, I think probably the way that we need to move toward more. Okay, so since we're talking to SAG members, do you remember what role got you your SAG card?
Yes, I will never forget. I was so happy. It was right after season 2 of Drag Race, before season 3 aired. And I auditioned for a role on a show called Terriers on the FX network. It only went one season. It was with Michael Raymond James, and I love saying that name because it's 3 days of Michael Raymond James, and now you're going to make me mess up the Donald Logue. Okay, Donald Logue was the lead, and it was directed by Adam Arkin. Okay?
Wow.
And I played Michaela, a transgender hooker with a heart of gold, who wasn't just the hooker that got killed, behind the trash can or something. At that time, there was a lot of roles like that. But she was a realized character who was going to work with the police to help find the killer of her best friend that had been kidnapped and killed. So they were talking about trans murders even during that time, and the importance of, I think that the writing was, I remember being in that room and going, oh Lord, how are they going to write this? And, I'm going to have to say something, because I'd been on Drag Race and I felt like, okay, I've got to, if something is, misrepresented, I'm going to say something. It was so carefully done and respectfully, I think, in that moment. So I was really, that was it. And I'll never forget, we went down to San Diego, and I remember I was in drag with a wig on, with my helmet on my, over my wig, holding on to Michael Raymond James in the middle of the night when we shot this in San Diego on the back of his motorcycle. I was so happy, because I'd been working in Hollywood, but getting those vouchers and getting to that moment, you never know. You got to do a lot and clock in and clock out, but I was really thankful.
Yeah. Oh my God. All right. So, I know you probably have to go. You have a very busy schedule. I have a couple more questions. One is, tell us about your podcast. You also have a podcast somehow.
Yeah. I did 2 seasons of a podcast called Shangela. All right. Appropriate. And the first season was all about Game of Thrones, because I am a huge Game of Thrones fan. So yeah, just me like this. I call myself the Daenerys Stormborn of drag. Okay, hallelujah. So that was dedicated to that one. Then the following one, I started connecting. I had over the years made some really great relationships with people, and there were people that I looked up to that I wanted to gather advice from, to share with my listeners about what their experience was in Hollywood, and how they made it, how they just keep their own sanity, really. And so I had great guests to come over onto the podcast, people like Niecy Nash, oh my gosh, Andy Cohen, Lena Waithe, so many great people to come over there and chat with me about their experiences. Kathy Griffin came through, and Tyler Oakley. It's just great people. So you can find that over where great podcasts are sold. And right now, I'm just focusing my energy back into television and film. But there's always a way to stay connected with the Shanji, honey.
Yeah, got it. All right, cool. We'll look out for it. There'll be more seasons of that. I know. You'll have 5 minutes to spare, and you'll launch a new podcast or something. That'll happen. All right. So the last question that I usually ask people is what their advice for other actors is, and I kind of want to give you a choose your own adventure, because I think that's really broad. So if you want to just give some piece of advice, great. But also advice for actors during quarantine, right? Where it's like you're not going out on auditions. So how are you exercising? How are you doing exercises? How do you keep your muscle intact, or whatever you do with muscles? And also advice in particular for queer actors who are, facing different sets of challenges, like the ones we all talked about, and possibly roles that maybe don't represent them in a way that they feel good about. So any kind of advice that you can give, what is Shangela's advice for other actors out there?
Okay, well, My advice, wow, it's interesting giving advice always because I'm also in the same pool and I soak up as many tidbits from other people that I can. So this is just a sharing of some things that I've learned from my experience, right? And one of those, specifically, I'm going to address my queer brothers and sisters and actors first. And I'm going to say, for us, I remember when I was a kid, my dream, I wanted to be an actor, right? I lived my life through television. I think I grew up poor on the wrong side of town or whatever, and I just remember looking at television and going, "Oh my gosh, I want to be up there." That was just so different from what my experience was. I wanted that, but I never saw hardly any queer characters, especially Black queer characters, in television and film. So I thought, in order to be an actor, you've got to play it straight. And there was a point in my life where I knew there was no more playing it straight. Just wasn't going to happen for me. And so I started to give up on that dream. Maybe I won't be able to be an actor in that way because I can't, it's hard to be phony. Now, as an actor, we can go into different characters. You know that. But I just felt that world didn't seem that it was open to queer people being able to play straight characters in different roles. So the thing that changed that really was coming into my own of who I was and realizing that in writing and in roles that it doesn't matter, as long as you prepare yourself and you go in there and you deliver what you're supposed to be delivering as an actor, if it's not for you in that moment, then it ain't gonna be for you. But you can't give up on yourself before you give another person a chance to accept you or not. You got to accept yourself first. And when you can do that, when you can say, I know I'm talented, I can play multiple different characters, I'm an actor, I'm a thespian, I've dedicated myself to this, I'm good at my art. But I'm not ashamed of who I am as a person. Because as an actor, we take who we are into every single role anyway, right? You can't completely abandon who you are as a person. It's going to be in there somewhere. So just be proud of that and own it. And don't let, the lack of representation that you may feel is out there be an inhibitor for you to go out there and get your job. Go get your job. Okay?
Yeah.
To everyone else, I would say, in this time of pandemic, honey, use this moment. Don't let the moment use you. Okay? So that means, I took the first week, probably first 2 weeks, and I was like, "Ooh, yes, ma'am, vacation, Netflix." Because, I have great respect for our frontline workers and people who are out there that are doing the essential jobs. My job is to stay at home, right, and not to help flatten the curve. So I was in the house, I was in my robe, I was eating the potato chips and the ice creams and the honey buns. I was watching weeks, whole series on Netflix, just back to back to back to back to back. And then I realized, you know what, Shan? After we find what our new normal, whatever that is going to be, I have faith and hope that we're going to be able to go out there and create again. Why would I destroy myself in this moment and then have to work 10 times harder to get back to who I was? Because I was killing it before this. You know what I mean? In my mind, I was killing it. So I'm not going to not kill it after this. And then in doing that, in preparing myself while I've been in, lockdown, I've also learned there are new and different ways to work. We have to seek those out. Or if not, we have to create them. Our drag community has been hit so hard with the shutdown, the complete shutdown of nightlife. And I know our actor community has as well. But for drag queens specifically, so many are not on a payroll. They don't have insurance. They work for tips in these places entertaining people. We know what it's like to entertain people and not always be compensated for, right? And in doing that, they're out of work. But they're learning how to pivot. Remember my word, pivot? They're learning to pivot and do virtual shows and find other ways to connect with people. And hopefully people are supporting them. The people that want to are supporting them online. That's what we have to do. Find a new way. If creating is your passion, is your joy, find a way to create. If you don't see a role for you, start writing. Even if you're not the best writer, you never know when an opportunity will come along. You be ready. I ordered a treadmill. I surely did, because I'm quarantining over here at my granny's house in Paris, Texas, right? I'm far from Hollywood at the moment. But I'm still promoting our show. You know, we're here on HBO. I just released a 1-hour comedy show for free over on YouTube called Laquifa's Hallelujah. I have a new one coming out called Shangela is Shook before All Stars 5, all about All Stars 3. That's going to come out soon on a streaming service. I'm writing, I'm creating, I'm figuring out ways to stay active. I ordered a treadmill because I wanted to stay fit. Now, I ain't been on it but 6 times, but I'm going to get out there, okay?
That's 6 times more than I have. I actually thought of you when I was getting up to start getting ready for the interview. I like felt my body creak, and I was like, you're about to talk to somebody who does death drops. So you need to figure out a way to not let your body creak when you just stand up. So.
That could be your new hit, girl. Let me hear your body creak. Your body creak.
Oh my God. All right. I cannot tell you how much of a joy it has been talking to you. Thank you so much for this show. Good luck with everything. And I cannot wait to see you on that scripted show that is coming down the pike, no doubt. I do want to say to anybody watching that details for our COVID-19 fund to help actors, details are below, so check those out. Shangela, thank you so much. Everybody watch We're Here, and we will see you soon.
Thursdays at 9 p.m. Hallelujah.